Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me again. So, to this evening's little talk, we're going to continue from what we talked about this morning about defence spending, because I was just conscious that the video was running too long, and I know in the morning that your guys, your time's important, you don't want to be listening to me rabbit on for too long. So we're going to continue about the defence spending. We're going to answer a couple of questions about Iran, their nuclear facilities, and also another question that I've had come through on the comments about cloud seeding and how it could be used as a weapon. I thought it was a really interesting question, and the more I thought about it, the more credible it sounded in my mind. I'm also going to talk about a little bit about Ukraine and the latest developments there. Not so much on a strategic level, not so much on a tactical level, but more on a political level. And I'm just going to let you guys know that I don't think there's anybody in the UK who, in the political class anyway, who has any idea what's happening. So we will begin then, guys. So, before I start, guys, could you all give me a like and a follow and a share and subscribe? It really helps me out when we do that, guys. Okay, so thank you so much for doing that. So, defence spending. This morning we were talking about defence spending and the problems with it. Well, so at the end of the Second World War, what the government did, they didn't want people making too much profit, which is fair, and they didn't want taxpayers' money going towards profit. So what they did, they said, okay, you have to publish your profit, and you have to publish your profit margins, and you're only allowed to make X amount of profit. Now that sounds perfectly fine and reasonable, but the unintended consequence of that profit cap, whatever it is for different systems, it's different things. The unintended consequence was nobody takes any risk and nobody innovates. What do I mean by that? Well, rather than pay, for example, I can lay carbon fiber with resin and put together drones, but they wouldn't pay me to do that. They would pay the highest professor with the most university degrees, who's got all the educational background to back him up, and they pay him $100 grand a year to do that, and then they can put that down as one of their costs. So remember, a cost does not equate to your profit. And then they buy the best materials, the most expensive materials, the Rolls Royce of materials, the Rolls Royce of components, the Rolls Royce of all these materials that you put these together. And they would go for the best of the best of the best to produce everything. So what does that do? It drives the cost up, but it does not drive the profit up, and then they'll add 10-15% on top of that. So where you could get an innovative company who could think, right, okay, I know 3 guys who can lay carbon fiber. I don't need to pay them 100 grand a year. I can pay them 30 grand a year. Okay, so you've made a saving straight away. Okay, do these components need to be of this high standard? No, probably not. Okay, right, I'll find the cheapest provider and we'll get those put in. Now, the problem with that is you would only do that if you could make additional money on top of it. But the problem is they can't make extra money, so they don't take the risk. It makes no sense in them innovating, in them taking risks, in them trying to make products better when they can just put the price up because the government will pay it. And that's really what happened with defence spending, and that's why defence is so high. This 2.5% GDP, it really is a ridiculous thing. Now, if you know anyone in the military, I do, ask them about this Ajax project. It was an armoured vehicle and it cost £5.5 billion. And what did they get at the end of it when the first prototype was finished? They had a machine that the first person who trialled it, it was so loud it burst his eardrums and he had to get kicked out of the army. Guys, it's an absolute disgrace. So when we're talking about this much money, 5.5 billion, that's the equivalent of giving every serving soldier in the army like 60 grand or something. So if you know anyone in the army, just go up to them and say, hey mate, do you want 60 grand or would you rather have your eardrums burst? And I think we all know what the answer is going to be. So that's the current state of the military at the moment and the defence spending. So what did I say we was going to go on to? I said we was going to do questions, didn't we? So we've got a couple of questions, guys. So I'll answer the cloud seeding one first. Where are we, guys? So question 6 hours ago, it was Can you talk about cloud seeding and how it can be used as a weapon? First of all, I had to think about this. I really had to think about how cloud seeding could be used as a weapon, and then I thought, wow, non-conventionally, if you could seed a cloud with a chemical, whatever harmful chemical it could be, and I'm not saying that anyone's doing this, I don't know if anyone's doing this, I'm just answering the question. So, and I've got no inside knowledge of this, but I was thinking, if you could seed a cloud with, a certain chemical, whether that's something that can affect crops, livestock, whether it can get into a water supply and contaminate it, I don't know. You would have a virtually undetectable method of moving a chemical weapon over a country, and then as long as that cloud bursts somewhere over that country, you'd be able to, affect them with impunity. So it's, the reality of cloud seeding, using it as a weapon, it's a fantastic delivery method for, certain chemicals. And then I started to think about these high altitude balloons and how they get around. And the next question would be, okay, can you steer a cloud? And I know it sounds crazy, but I was thinking, could you steer a cloud with some sort of like frequency generator or sound waves? I don't know, guys. If you've got any experience in that area, let me know in the comments. So the next question I've got, guys, is, Sean, can you talk about whether or not Iran might have a working nuclear bomb at this point, and how does Israel know that it was not on the end of one of the missiles it launched last week? I reckon they want to be 100% sure that one of the incoming missiles does not contain a nuclear warhead. Yeah. So I don't think so. So you've got two aspects of a nuclear weapon. You've got the weapon itself and the delivery vehicle. People often get mistaken. So a nuclear weapon itself, you can put that on the back of a truck and just drive it somewhere. So, but obviously, being able to put that on a missile and target wherever you want, that's obviously a different capacity. What I would say is whether they've got one or not, it doesn't matter, because they're allied with Russia and the Russians 100% have them. So, are Iran and Russian scientists working together? Most definitely. They're working together on drones. We know this because the Iranians have been selling them to Russia. Now, I think the real question is, could Iran use their nuclear material and make a dirty bomb? Yes, I think that is very likely, and it's very dangerous as things move forwards. And that's going to bring me on to an article from the news today. Where are we, guys? Where is it? Yeah. So remember when this attack first happened, the Iranian attack first happened, I said, on this platform and my other one, I said, okay, that's fine, but we need to think about Israel's response. And as soon as it happened, I said, okay, the two main area targets that I see are Iranian nuclear facilities and the Iranian gas oil separation plants. Both of them will become catastrophic on a global scale. It's now come out, there's lots of, high-ranking people and, commentators, and they're all saying the same as what I said initially. They're all saying that the nuclear facilities are a target. In a couple of days, they'll start talking about, the gas oil separation plants. If this happens, all bets are off, and I'm saying that this could potentially happen before. I think if it's going to happen at all, it's going to happen before the 18th of next month, and it'll probably happen the Friday before the 18th, whatever that is. I don't know what the dates are off the top of my head. So that's where we are at the moment, guys. Okay, everything's ratcheting up towards this, towards Israel's strike back on Iran. And don't forget, Israel have already said that they're going to strike back, but they're going to strike back as and when it's, as and when it suits them. So finally, guys, there's some more doom and dystopia for you guys. Ukraine warns of World War III ahead of long-stalled Congress aid vote. Ukraine's Prime Minister has told the BBC that there will be a third world war if Ukraine loses its conflict with Russia, as he urged the US Congress to pass the long-stalled foreign aid bill. Now, whether they pass it this time or whether they don't, it doesn't really matter, because the American the money flowing into Ukraine from America is going to dry up very, very quickly. Whether it dries up now or whether it dries up with Trump, it doesn't really matter, but it is going to dry up, and Europe's going to have to take that slack because America is going to be focused on the Middle East and then with potentially another conflict with China. You know, I spoke previously in another video about the threat from the Falklands to the UK. Sorry, the threat to the Falklands from Argentina. That's real, guys. That threat is 100% real. If you know the relationship between Argentina and Russia, you understand why. What I would say is my timeline for that, we have time yet. I think the Argentinians will start ratcheting that up as soon as the UK is bogged down in Eastern Europe, which is only a matter of time. And once that happens, the Argentinians will have another crack at the Falklands. It's inevitable, guys. There's too many resources there, and there's too much scope because the oil and resource exploration ban is lifted from Antarctica pretty soon. Well, I say pretty soon, in like I think 15 or maybe less than 20 years that gets lifted. It sounds like a long time, but it's not really when you think about the grand scheme of things. You know, so the Argentinians are going to want the Falklands because whoever controls the Falklands obviously controls Antarctica. Guys, that is all I've got for you today. Keep liking and subscribing. Guys, we've got on our other platform, we've got some good stuff that we're doing. Go and check that out, our other platform. I'm going to be releasing some new stuff on there. We're doing separate content now, guys. So we're doing the other platform that's going to be, it's going to be shorter videos with, really punchy. This one is going to be a little bit longer, a little bit more mature. We're going to talk about deeper things and things that we can't talk about on the other platform. For example, we can't really talk about anything to do with said viruses or that may or may not have been around at any time. We can't really be negative to certain countries that sound like China. But on here, guys, we get a bit more freedom. So don't forget to like, don't forget to follow, guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow.